Christian and embraced Islam in 1966. He pursued his Islamic studies for nearly a decade, and he's traveled to over 32 countries around the world. He's lectured in about 125 universities and colleges in 35 major cities. In 1991, he graduated with a Bachelor's of Science and Master's of Science degree in Social Science and Community Organization from the State of University in New York. He was a member of the Majlis Ashura of ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. Over a decade, he has served many Islamic organizations and mosques in the U.S. And as director and imam, he established ITI in Atlanta, Georgia in 1992. Currently, he is engaged in a project to set up an Islamic satellite and broadcasting channel from the UK and the UAE. He's completed his educational kits on training for new and emerging Muslims, manual of presenting Islam for individuals and organizations, and Purpose of Life and Windows of Islam in series. Basically, Sheikh Khalid Yasin, he's on a mission to promote better understanding about Islam and Muslims of the US, and to explain how the Muslims should respond to the events after 9/11. Today's lecture is going to be on the purpose of life, the hidden treasure. The lecture would be about an hour's time, and after that we'd have a question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Nadim Zaman. I request Brother Khalid Yasin.
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على من اصطفى محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه وبعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أيها الإخوة الكرام وأخوات السيدات، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. To our distinguished guests and organizers, and to all of the Muslims, we say peace and blessings be upon you. And to our respected non-Muslim guests, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your guidance, and we say peace be upon those who follow the guidance. My dear respected brothers and guests, I'm not here to lecture, actually. I'm here to offer you some advice. For those of us who are Muslims, to remind you and to remind myself. For the reminder benefits the one who listens. And for those who are non-Muslims, to offer you advice as a fellow human being about a topic that we could pass our entire lives and never really consider a very simple question. What is the purpose of life? Now I know that many of us are highly educated in very sophisticated fields. Some of us are very wealthy, very well endowed. We have children, we have responsibilities, we have titles. But with all of that, still, we're just human beings. And each one of us, sometime in our lives, either tonight or tomorrow, or before you die, or after you die, you're going to have to ask or be asked the question, what is the purpose of life? Or if you have died, what was your purpose in life? And this is a very fundamental question. And I saw myself, just like you're sitting here today, some time ago, a Christian, a non-Muslim, a human being that at that time really didn't know or could not answer the question, what is the purpose of life? And the first time I heard that question and had to ponder on it, it really didn't matter what denomination I was. It really didn't matter what color I was, what college or university I graduated from. It was just an overwhelming question. And it's just as valid a question today, after 35 years being a Muslim. It's just as valid a question today as it was then. So I pose to you, those of you who are our guests, non-Muslims who took the time to come out here tonight, think for a moment. Ponder, reflect, bear with us, be patient, and think about some of the evidences that we will offer you to fill that gap and to answer that question, what is the purpose of life? So with that note, I would request you to think about what I will be saying to you as information and advice, not a lecture. Usually when a university professor offers a lecture, he's very confident about what he gives, and he's very confident about those who receive, because after all, they've paid for it. In this case, neither have you paid for it, and neither do I assume that what I'm saying to you will be received. So take it as advice, and I'll give it as such. Now, the information I want to share with you may be a bit extensive. Our brother said that my lecture to you would be about an hour. I tried to make it a little bit less than that. But I think that when you consider that you live 24 hours a day times 7, that's 168 hours a week times 52, times whatever amount of years that you've been on this earth, I don't think that to take just an hour to listen to some advice that may fill this gap, may answer this question, would be too burdensome for you. Now, it is my responsibility to address the topic of our discussion tonight. What is the purpose of our life? And through answering that question, lead you and I to capture the treasure, the hidden treasure. Because the answer to the question is the key to the treasure. And also to ask the question along with that, what do you know about Islam? I mean, what do you really know about Islam? Not what CNN said, not what my President Bush said or Tony Blair said, not what Muslims necessarily say, not what your father or your mother or your teacher in school or your friend said or the newspaper said, but what do you actually know about Islam? And not necessarily what you have seen in the action of some Muslims, because obviously all Muslims, like all Christians or Jews or Buddhists or Hindus or all other human beings, obviously all of them do not know their religion well, nor do they practice it. So you cannot understand what Islam is simply by virtue of the fact that you have a Muslim colleague or Muslim co-worker or a Muslim friend, or you've read some things about Muslims. honored to have this opportunity, and I would like to begin by saying that all of you have just as much of a responsibility as I have. My job is to fill the cup if I can. But I cannot fill the cup unless you hold it out, unless it is right side up. For if your glass is turned upside down, the water will just spread every place and you won't receive anything. Now for your glass to be turned right side up, you have to have an open mind, an open heart. You've got to be able to be objective for a moment. And that means if you're able to do so, set aside your preconditioning. Set aside your prejudice. Set aside your biasness. Set it aside. Set aside your subjectivity for just a moment, if you dare. What we hope to do by your taking the posture of open-mindedness is to open a window so that you can see into Islam. And along with that, answer the question, what is the purpose of life? Now, it's very hard to find people that are able to take a moment to think about life objectively, and try to arrive at the truth about this world and the real purpose of our lives. I would request each one of us that if you have a cell phone, please just turn it off for a moment. Your wife, she'll call back. She won't leave you. Unfortunately, when you ask most people the question, what is the purpose of our lives? It's like you're asking the PIN number of their bank account. They become uptight. They get glassy-eyed. They become apprehensive. They step back for a moment and they say, what are you talking about? Such an important question. Yet they will not tell you what they have concluded from observation or from analytical reasoning. Rather, in most cases, they will simply tell you what someone else said. If I ask anyone, what's the purpose of eating? Of course, they'll say, we eat because, in one way or another, it's for nutrition, to sustain life. If I ask anyone why they work, they will say, obviously, if I don't work, I won't make money, I won't be able to take care of my family. It's to earn a living. If I ask them why they sleep, why they wash, why they dress, etc., they will answer in a similar fashion, with very rational, clear responses. We can follow this line of questioning with 100 questions and receive the same rational answers in any language, in any place in the world, because it's a very simple question. Then I ask you, why is it that when we ask the question, what is the goal and the purpose of life, why do we get so many different answers and different responses? It's because people are confused. They're unprepared. They didn't really come to grips with that question. They did not resolve that question. And because of that, they go through life stumbling, fumbling, trying to grasp something out of life without really understanding the purpose self. And we're talking about what? Educated people, influential people, powerfully endowed people, sophisticated people, people that control the lives of tens of thousands or even millions of people, and they themselves have not come to grip with the question, what is the purpose of life? If we ask the question, where is China? Everybody knows China is at, because there's 1 billion people in the world that are Chinese. And we know Chinese history, we know Chinese culture, we know the geography of China, and so many things about China. But if I ask you what is the purpose of life, we can't answer. Well, let's think about it tonight. Is our purpose in this world simply to eat, sleep, dress, work, acquire some material things, enjoy ourselves, migrate towards some position in life? Why are we born? What is the object of our existence? And what is the wisdom behind the creation of man and this tremendous universe? Think about that question. Now, some people may argue that there is no proof of any divine origin. There's no proof that there's a God, that there's a creator. There's no proof that this universe came about through any design. And there are people who still say today that the human beings did not come about by a design, but that they evolved from a species like monkeys or apes. And even though Darwin, before he died, he gave up that theory. But can you imagine that for 60 years after him, human beings are still saying that? Because Darwin realized before he died that the theory didn't make sense. Because monkeys are not still evolving. And nor are humans still evolving. Because if that were the case, humans should have evolved into another species similar to humans, and monkeys should have evolved into humans, and therefore monkeys who evolved into humans should be now capturing other monkeys and putting them in zoos. But that's not the case. Human beings have a different emotional structure than monkeys do. And monkeys have never had the emotional structure or the psychological capability of human beings. And in fact, Darwin realized that the human being is the only unique species on the planet Earth that has been discovered that has the psychology and the emotions, even though there are other mammals that may be similar to humans. They're the only ones that have this psychology and have this set of emotions. And this is what set the human beings apart, their mind and their emotions. And because of those emotions and that mind, they have such vast capabilities that they're able to use to dominate the rest of the world. And there are people who argue this way, and they say that perhaps this world came about by chance. Chance, like shooting dice. You throw two pieces of dice out, and you might get a 7, you might get an 11, and you win. Or if you get snake eyes, you lose. Or you might get a 5 or a 6 or 8 or whatever the case might be. A combination of numbers that you can never determine how they will come. Chance. Let's think about that. And those same people argue that life does not have any definite purpose, and there's nothing that can be concluded or proven categorically or scientifically, either logic or science, that there is a creator, that there is